I'm so honored to be here speaking with you today. This is actually, as you can tell, my first time coming to our convention, and I couldn't be happier to be here, especially after a year like 2020. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm a rising second-year medical student at Duke, and I was the recipient of the Henry V. Poore Graduate Scholarship for 2020. I'd love to take some time to tell you a bit about what this scholarship's done for me and why Psi U has been such a positive force in my life. I entered Georgia Tech in 2015 as a biomedical engineering major and a lifelong Atlanta native. Med school really wasn't on my radar. I was set on becoming an engineer like my father so I could work on glamorous projects like prosthetics and medical devices. I started my first engineering class, and as it turned out, I totally hated it. I kept on pushing through, tried to convince myself that all misery would eventually be worth it. It was just my first year, and even though I was technically doing fine, I managed to already feel like a failure. All my classmates around me seemed to love what they were doing. It was in the fall of my second year that I broke out of my introverted shell long enough to attend a game night at a fraternity house on campus. I didn't realize it was a rush event until 30 minutes in. I just totally brushed off the part where they had me sign my name in a book to enter. It's a cliche among my Gamma Tau brothers that all our pledge stories start off with, "I never thought I would end up in a fraternity." Apparently this is not unique to us. I spoke with some Epsilon Iota brothers who said that their saying is Psi U, Psi join a fraternity. This was especially true for me though at Georgia Tech, since I wasn't even aware we had a co-ed fraternity on campus. It took some explaining to my family when I excitedly called them up to tell them that I received a bid at Psi Upsilon. One thing that stood out to me from my pledge semester on was the sheer passion that the Psi U brothers had for their various fields of study. Not only did we have an impressive variety of majors represented, but everyone I spoke to seemed to really love what they were doing. I remember listening to one biology major talk about her neuroscience research and thinking, wow, that sounds like such a dream. We ended up chatting about some shared interests like Dungeons and Dragons and became good friends. She's now pursuing her PhD at Georgia Tech. It was thanks to the encouragement of the Psi Us that I eventually worked up the fortitude to switch my major from biomedical engineering to biology. Without that one key change, I don't think I would have ever applied to medical school. All the best memories of my college experience happened after I joined Psi U and found a wonderful group of lifelong friends. I was so happy to get 3 little brothers during my time at Psi U, all of whom I still keep in regular contact with. As an active brother, I worked as scholarship chair and set up academic plans with all our chapter members. I ended up loving my new biology curriculum and spent 5 semesters in a lab on campus researching Alzheimer's disease. That's what kickstarted my desire to apply to medical school and become a doctor. Being in Atlanta, I had a pretty convenient proximity to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In my senior year, I spent a semester working as a part-time intern in the mycotic diseases branch. And during my gap year, after I graduated in 2019, I worked in the chronic viral diseases branch as a research fellow studying HPV. It was then, during the blur of med school applications, that I attended an initiation dinner at a Psi U favorite location, Yanjing Chinese restaurant. There, I sat next to our very own Jonathan Chapman. As we were chatting, he encouraged me to apply for one of the new Psi U graduate scholarships. He patiently answered all my questions about the process and walked me through it. As an undergrad, I used to joke about how I wanted to give back to Psi U once I actually started earning my own income, a prospect that admittedly still seems pretty far off. It's not a joke really anymore. Once I'm able to, I want to prioritize supporting these scholarships so I can try and pass on some of the good that Psi U has done for me. Unfortunately, the cost of secondary education continues to skyrocket. Even at a public university like Georgia Tech, it's become pretty daunting. These scholarships can really make the difference in whether or not somebody can afford to continue their education. And it's thanks to the generosity of our Psi U alums that we're able to support them. I was incredibly fortunate to receive that graduate scholarship that helped enable me to attend my dream medical school, Duke. I just finished my first year there, and I'll be starting my surgical rotations in August. I couldn't be happier with the way things turned out, and in large part, I have Psi U to thank for that. After serving as scholarship chair, I've become really passionate about promoting academic excellence in our brotherhood, and these scholarships are one of the absolute best ways we can ensure that, not only in undergrad, but in our brothers' career aspirations beyond that. From organized study hours at the house, to pre-finals cramming sessions in the library, all fueled with cookies and coffee, I've known Psi U's to put academics first. My brothers were always there to cheer each other on at the conclusion of a successful project or to lend a sympathetic ear for venting about classes. As scholarship chair, I had the privilege of listening to my brothers share their vulnerabilities and fears about each academic year, as well as their joy at their improvement. Georgia Tech's known to be a pressure cooker of a school, but I could always rely on the supportive environment of the chapter house and everyone in it. If I needed my spirits lifted after a tough day or a week or a month, I could just stop by the chapter house and instantly see all my friends to boost my morale. I looked forward to weekly brothers meetings as a chance to catch up with everyone outside of class. One thing that really stood out to me from that first rush night on was how accepting the Psi U brothers were of people from all walks of life. They were totally open and inclusive from the beginning. There was no restricted rush dress code and no need for recommendations from alumni to get a bid. I didn't get the sense that the brothers were looking for people to fit a specific mold. The question I was asked most often was, so what are you into? The brothers wanted to know my hobbies, my taste in music, all the things I was most passionate about. I wasn't judged for being a huge nerd, which I undeniably am, and you can ask anyone who's seen me at a Comic-Con. There was no need for me to pretend to be someone I wasn't. That Psi U brand quirkiness has stuck with me throughout the years. It means that I never have to fear judgment for being the person that I am with my brothers and sharing myself with them. And it extends beyond Rush, of course. My med school friends were surprised to find out how much camping experience I had on a weekend trip with them. All of that came from Psi U. We were consistently the least expensive fraternity on campus because keeping our dues low meant that we could be as inclusive as possible of people with various financial situations. And so when we came time to discuss initiations and installations, we typically turned to the most economical option, and that was camping in Georgia state parks. Ask any Yamatal, and we can tell your funniest memories of camping in near-freezing or blazing hot weather, or about showing up to Waffle House the next morning as a huge group, all smelling of river water and wood smoke. And of course, I wouldn't be here standing before you today if it weren't for my chapter's gender-inclusive policy. I've been fortunate to become close with people of all gender identities through Psi U, and it's taught me a great deal about folks whose experiences might look really different from my own. The chapter house was a place where everyone could feel welcome, regardless of how they spoke or dressed. Several of my brothers felt comfortable enough to come out for the first time as queer or trans, and I'm able to take the lessons I've learned from them into medical school today, and hopefully I get to apply them in my practice. It's my sincere wish that all my future patients feel safe and comfortable in my care. And with that open-armed acceptance comes confidence. My brothers built me up from the beginning by believing in me. They've always had faith in my ability to achieve my goals, whether that was learning a new crafting skill, mastering a tough guitar song, or being accepted to medical school. Of course, being a bunch of tech-savvy nerds really came in handy during the long, lonely months of the pandemic. My chapter was quick to adapt to an online-only format for meetings, fundraisers, and movie and game nights. We set up a Discord server to maintain our strong connections, even as our active brothers and alumni scattered across the country. We even managed to initiate more brothers during this time period. I can't tell you how valuable it was to have that constant reminder that none of us were truly alone during this incredibly challenging time. I'm so proud of my brothers for emerging from this tragedy with stronger bonds than ever before. Now that we're all vaccinated, it's heartwarming to see the house once again teeming with people. I could go on and on about all the ways Psi U has benefited me. I really can't imagine what my life would look like without being part of this fraternity. Psi U was my support system all through undergrad, and the Brotherhood continues to have my back through my current pursuits. I'd like to take a moment to specifically thank the donors who have supported our fraternity awards and scholarships. All the dollars that our brothers donate at any level have a direct impact on the lives of our undergrads and graduates. And I'm a pretty good example of that. The only reason I'm able to stand before you today was because a very generous alumni managed to donate some of their frequent flyer miles so that I could catch a flight here. I literally am only here because of that. So if you're able to make donations like that, please let the foundation know, because I really would love to recognize you. It's strange to think about how that one invitation to the house years and years ago changed so much for me. I know you guys are probably all thinking about the unique experiences that brought you here as well. Now that I've talked so long about all the things that Psi U has done for me, It's time for me to look ahead and start thinking about how I want to give back. Our Brotherhood has such an exciting future ahead of it, and I'll forever be proud to be a part of it. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you. It's been a privilege.